Welcome to Zooming to Webinar Success. Your host is Grant Holmes, and his clients call him the Webinar Guy. Grant is a busy virtual meeting manager and on-screen host with a team of professionals ready to help you plan and produce your next virtual event. Learn tips and tricks to having successful virtual meetings from step one. And now, here's your host, Grant Holmes, the Webinar Guy.
Welcome to episode 32 of Zooming to Webinar Success, and my name is Grant. My clients call me the Webinar Guy. And today we're going to talk about one of my most asked questions. How long should my webinar be? Well, as Robert Southey, author of Goldilocks, might have said, just right. As you already know, well, I hope you know by now, you can always catch up on previous episodes at thewebinarguy.com. They're on the right-hand side column, all 31 of them. Okay, maybe not every day, but almost every day I get some version of that question, how long should my webinar be? And I'm sure you'll not be surprised by my answer, long enough. But just as usual, let's back up a bit. Another thing I tell my clients nearly every day is to begin with the end in mind. Now, that phrase was made famous by Dr. Stephen Covey years ago. I can't overemphasize how important planning is. It's really the point of this entire series, and it follows that this single issue, planning, is a constant. Every week I get a message, are you available to hold or host or moderate a webinar? Wait for it. Tomorrow? Yep. Yeah, I do. When you begin with the end in mind, you know why you're having your webinar or virtual meeting. Back in episode 27, I asked you to consider WIFM, or what's in it for me, or more accurately, what's in it for your audience, them. So that is one great goal. What is in it for your audience? And you should know. But what is it you want out of it? The reasons that the Webinar Guy's clients have virtual summits, virtual meetings, hybrid events are as varied as the businesses they operate. Now, in episode 4, I talked about finding the purpose of your webinar. Then in episode 5, the overall strategy on what you're trying to accomplish. Go listen to those and get prepared for answers. Now, when an audience is being asked to absorb information, you need to allow the information time to trickle in. We've all heard that learning from a fire hose or similar statement. Try that in a webinar and you'll lose your audience. Generally speaking, my sweet spot is about 20 minutes. Why? Well, that's a great time length where it's long enough to impart the information, leave some time for Q&A, and not leave everyone tired, bored, or no longer on your webinar. Now, if you've been in sales, there's a constant in how you think of prospects and sales. You may have heard the phrase 10-6-4-1. You have to get 10 prospects, talk to 6, 4 will be interested, and you'll end up closing 1. How did that information jump in here? Well, stay with me for a minute. Like a realtor would say location, 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 we at thewebinarguy.com say preparation, 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 or planning. We'd love to be on your team from the first time you think about doing a webinar. Yes, I'm the webcast and podcast sponsor, for now, thewebinarguy.com. Yep, that's me. And when you decide to plan your first webinar, or you're looking to plan a larger or multi-dimensional virtual summit, and you think you need some assistance, we have many resources that we would love to help you with. Hit me. Email me at webinarpro@thewebinarguy.com or visit our website, thewebinarguy.com, and use a contact form. We'd love to work with you, and thank you for listening to my commercial. Okay, back to that sales rule, 10-6-4-1. Look it up on the internet and you'll see many different numbers. They're all relevant to the point and all about the same. You need 10 sales from your webinar, you'll need to fill 100 seats. Pretty simple math. One mistake in my experience is when people try to have a webinar and try to get 200 in their virtual sales meeting and get 20 sales right then. Well, it might work. And then they'll pack that very single thing, every single thing, into that first webinar, every piece of information they have, and it gets up to 60 minutes. And then they're disappointed that the audience thins out early and the remaining 30 people don't buy. Yeah, I've seen that. Most often, they've been overwhelmed. Here's a solution. Plan that webinar to be the first part of a funnel. Go ahead and get 100 or 200 people in your webinar, virtual summit. But plan to give just enough information to your audience to get the right number to the next webinar. In other words, every virtual seminar could be a breakdown to the next. Now, why blow all your time and energy on an audience that isn't going to buy? Here's an example. We do a ton of Bitcoin, Binance, and DeFi webinars for clients. They'll do 15 minutes on what Bitcoin is and how it relates to 10 more minutes on how secure blockchain technology is, and then 7 more minutes on their platform and how great it is, because they're all the best now. And we're now over 30 minutes. And I sit and watch the participant list drop off one by one, often 2 by 2, and they've not even gotten to their call to action. They're lost. And God forbid you have a boring speaker that drones on and on and on, and those numbers will drop like a rock. What could they do? I don't know. Start with a statement by your webinar moderator from thewebinarguy.com that is, this webinar will be a bit advanced and for those that already understand Bitcoin, blockchain, and are ready for a better platform. In other words, manage expectations. Then first touch on what Bitcoin is and touch on blockchain technology, maybe 2 minutes tops. Mention another webinar you'll be having later that is more in-depth on those things for people that need the information to trust the technology. Get those people in that webinar. Now work on how your platform works and the benefits of using it. You can do a lot in the next 5 minutes, maybe 7. Then do your Q&A. 5 minutes tops, maybe your top 3 to 5 questions. Then do your then do your CTA, your call to action. We're only at about 15 minutes, and I assure you, you'll have better numbers for sales. Make sense? Your CTA, your call to action, let's say it's a sign-up offer for the next webinar. Why not? But get those really interested into that next harder sales push webinar, maybe with some great offer, say 5% bonus for those that sign up now for that next webinar. Now, if you're planning a 60-minute webinar or even anything over, say, 30 minutes, you better have 5 things. You better be an interesting speaker with great content, solid webinar design, tight planning agenda run by professionals, a concise, meaningful Q&A, and an interesting, well-crafted call to action. So what have we defined? A sort of sales funnel where we'll try to peel off attendees that would be better served in a different webinar. Next, we'll have planned content for the real audience that we wanted to serve, and either close them with a call to action now or have that deeper, more detailed content webinar with a harder call to action soon after. This is all related to sales, but it works for nearly everything. Need voiceover training? How about my webinar on that? But first, I'll make sure what phase of your career you're in. This webinar is for those that already have equipment, have read a book, whatever, and then the call to action might be a 3-lesson course. Selling a beauty regimen, trying to solve racism or hunger in your neighborhood, helping people in some way, it doesn't matter. This all can help you plan. Well, this series is for smaller organizations and solopreneurs that may not be tech savvy, don't know all the steps, or don't want to know all the steps. And over the series, I'm going to lead you through the significant decisions and capabilities you'll need to Zoom to webinar success. And if you have a subject you'd like me to cover, please subscribe and then drop me a note or comment. And as always, if you need help now, don't hesitate to reach out to webinarpro@thewebinarguy.com. Thank you for watching. We'd love to hear your questions and comments, and don't forget to tell a friend or two. And if you're listening to the podcast audio, thanks for listening.